much, and thank you for taking time off to be this afternoon. When Dr. Trishant invited me to give a presentation, I was a bit worried what I'm going to talk about, because in the last sort of 2.5 years, I spent most of my time in broadcasting only. And so what is the connection that has to do robotics was the question. Otherwise, before taking up that job, this job, I was at a Massey University. I'm still at Massey University. That's not there. It will be there later. And I have 2 PhD students still on my pipeline. If I visited you last June, I would have prepared a different presentation. Maybe next time. I'll tell you why. So I'll give a copy of this so you can read, and I'm not going to waste talking about myself. You can find me on ResearchGate, LinkedIn, and then all those you can read later on. So, but what I do is more on the digital technologies for broadcasting today. So that's what I do. So I'm a rather technology manager, research manager, rather than like a researcher now, because I don't have a research lab on my own. But we do work with top research bodies like BBC, NHK Japan, Korea, and so on. So I'll highlight some of those as we progress. And so that's what I do. And also I'm very active in IET, and then I served 4 years on the IET Vision and Imaging Professional Network as an elected executive. Now I'm an advisor to that professional network. So I'll continue that work in the vision area. So one of the strong area of mine is the vision area, so you will find those in the other areas. So what I'm going to talk today is like looking at your more robotics area, and then I was thinking, what can I talk which has some, so that at the end of it you should have learned something. Otherwise, what's the purpose of wasting valuable 45 minutes of your researcher's time? So what I'm going to tell you is like from a different perspective, from like a more information delivery, information management perspective, how to masses, how do we see the change in this field, and how and what robot would play in that area. But later I will quickly shift to a very focused area to tell you some of the things happening in the broadcasting itself, maybe in the last half an hour or so. So I've done some work, and then IET recently found, that's a challenge for you as well. They say 66% of the employers in UK, they say the higher learning institutions will sort of, they find it harder to cater to the needs of the market, because the technology field is changing so fast, so rapidly. Yeah. So what they need is they cannot have it. So, and there is no time for them to bring them and then train, because by the time the technology has changed, and they won't be competitive if they don't come and contribute straight away. So it's a very challenging time for all the information industries. So I just came from one of the conferences we had in Istanbul, because I represent what's called that ABU, Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union. It's a professional body of all the radio, television, and new media broadcasters in the Asia Pacific. But we have members from UK as well, later I'll show you. And what's significant in this is that we have such a large membership, and in the UK we have 3 key players, BBC, World DAB, DRM. The DRM mainly centered around BBC, and they did some research and then came up with a digital radio for AIM, so the shortwave based. And then I'm here now in London to attend World DAB General Assembly, which is the DAB. I don't know how many of you, if I do a quick survey, how many of you listen to radio generally? So all of you listen to radio. Do you watch television?
Yeah.
How many of you watch television? Truly? Okay. Okay. Let me come back. Do you listen to radio, DAB plus, or FM, or on the internet?
BBC4.
Yeah, just internet.
So anyone listen to radio on DAB plus?
We used to back in 5, 6 years, no, more like 10 years ago.
No, DAB plus is
Not
just a
DAB
new one.
No, sorry, not DAB plus. I used to listen to some digital radio then, but
Okay.
not anymore. So
Right.
it's FM for me.
So how do you watch television? It's still on the television or on your laptop or?
Mostly on television.
Yeah. So from the transmission, you what you get? Please tell me.
Okay, thank you. I thought that I don't know.
Is it from the terrestrial broadcasting or from the satellite or from the cable or from the BT?
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Cable.
Cable.
Yeah.
So you get all your channels wired through the BT.
Yeah.
It's a package.
Yeah. Package.
Okay. Yeah, because what I'm going to talk about is this later on, and how the integration happens, how the changes are happening. Yeah. So this is the kind of composition for our professional membership. This is also almost like, we are almost like IET or IEEE, not for-profit organization which make sure that this industry is going. So that's why I'm still, I was asked to resign to take up that job, unfortunately. And I remain a kind of a research associate and a research associate and a teaching associate of the School of Engineering still with Massey. And two PhD students still working on. One is doing what's called the bird song recognition. That's why I thought, oh, it would have been nice if I talked a little bit about that as well, maybe another time. And the other PhD student is a mechatronics student. That student is doing a research on sort of measuring the tubes for fuel purification because in New Zealand we have some oil plants. So on those there are a large number of these tubes need to be measured for deformation. So that's mechanic. This student is doing a kind of a robot which runs within this tube. So it would have been good if I talk about those two, but maybe another time. So this presentation, I'll do a lot to talk about a little bit of broadcasting, but I'll try to touch wherever possible how the robotics comes into the broadcasting and how this the idea of information management helps and the idea of management helps to that. And then about 3 years ago I was here, and then you hosted London hosted the Olympic Games, and we published a full article on all the sports technologies went into that 2012 Olympics, including communication and other sports activities. You can read some of those articles, and they are somewhat related to some of the measurements in the robotics areas. And I'm humbly proud that I'm the only editor outside UK for that. So what I will do in the next maybe half hour or so, I'll talk about the media, and then how the media is changing, right? So when I say media, it includes the text, radio, television, and everything, and then how this is changing, and then how the interaction between this capture, processing, delivery, and between the human, because I'm going to talk a lot about this data capture and the processing, and maybe presenting information to the human consumption. So how these things will be done currently and how that will be done in future. So these are the media, various forms of media that include everything. So that's why I ask, because people now do consume these things, even with a smaller device. So, and then the integration between or interaction between those are getting higher, because today the film production is done in video rather than in the celluloid, because the video production has improved such high scale in the spatial resolution, because we are talking about 4K, 8K spatial resolution, and also now we are talking about the high frequency rate, so that it's not 50 hertz of picture capture, but maybe higher than that, like double of that, so it's getting double every time. So these were used only in special cases like in sports activities, like in cricket, because for you to find the leg before wickets, or so that you have many frames, many pictures to make a decision, or running between wickets, things like that. But this will become some kind of common things in future. This I captured from one of the publications, like one of the emails, news I got from UK. Do you have any idea what this is?
Shadow, the shadow.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, some research somewhere, isn't it?
Yes, it's a shadow over time.
Oh, okay, right. It's almost like the one what you showed me
yeah.
over there, isn't it? Yeah, so I thought, okay. I put this one to say that I cannot talk about this because I haven't done anything in that area. Maybe Dr. Trishnatha could do that, but not me, sorry. I haven't done any of the research in that area in recent times. But where do the broadcast industry find robotics? We have been using robotics for many years because he's from Sri Lanka, and I after teaching at Moratuwa Uni, I also on a secondment went back to the national TV station to become the head of engineering. And at that time we had the full what's called the commercial playback system, because in those days every commercial, which is only 15 seconds long, comes in a tape, and you need to load. Imagine how many commercials you play back. Who is going to change all of those? It's not possible. So we do what's called a lineup. This is one of the very boring jobs to be done. Right? So that's where at the very early stages robotics did fine, because they do less mistakes and they are good to do the boring process. Right? So that's how we started. But that era is gone for many years, because now all not tape based, now they are all disc based. So it's not a major issue now. So you can do a playlist, even you do, for playing back your songs and videos, and then you can line them up, right? But not in the past. But we do those things for what's called archiving. So in the archiving, we're talking about very huge archives. If you look at the archive of, I'm sorry, I don't have a bigger picture, clear picture. Couldn't take a clear picture of than that one, because that's operational. You can't open the doors. This photo I think I took in Auckland, TVN is at their station. So there is a very huge storage, tape-based, digital, but all controlled through the two robots run inside that cabinet. So you can do the production archiving to that one, so you can do deep archiving. That means you're not going to touch for longer time, but the things are running on recent consumption, or wired through like a giga Ethernet to the rest of the system. Right? So this is how we do that. So it's a kind of a, you would say it's just a mechanical thing. No, it's a more robotic things. We have improved lots of those algorithms, so that where to place them, where to search them, so that because one of the drawbacks we had with the tape was that it's more linear. So if you want to find something, it's harder to do that. And then, but in these systems, what we do is not only making them copied, but we also make them redundant. So if something goes wrong, we should be able to recover. So the data is distributed, coded and distributed at various places. So it's more complex algorithms which does that. Right? So it's similarly, what you are trying to find out through other mechanisms, how we do things, so that the robustness of the system has increased. Another thing, so I mentioned about the playback, data acquisitions, so many areas we actually do have. So one of the very upcoming areas for disaster, risk assessment or the recovery. So one of the, this is one of the areas where after the Nepal earthquake, so they wanted to find out what is the level of devastation. So they flew a drone above the area, and then you could get a picture of what's the level of destruction that has done. So we do this kind of things at various scales. Even in a larger scale, we look at if it is a drought, you can't run a drone, so we use the satellite remote sensing and then profile how the drought or the floods has affected these areas. So we continually these things which support feed into the other agencies so that they can carry out their own activities. In hazardous areas, to find out what's going on or what action has been, what action need to be taken. So the best example is Fukushima. I mean, I'm sure you heard about this quite a lot. And they deployed various robots to find out whether still the reactor is running and whether it's spilling, various things, so that the people, those who are working, are not at high risk. And the drones and the monitoring. When I say monitoring, two aspects. One is for information recovery, but also in broadcasting. In recent times, one of the great improvements with the drones is that nowadays we use a drone to do profiling, known as the transmission patterns. So let's say BT tower. So you install a new set of panel of antennas. You want to find out how the coverage is. So in the past, what we did was we do a very expensive scanning using a chopper. Helicopter runs so many cycles. So it's basically it's like a, so you can divide all of these points in a horizontal plane. So more points you have a better understanding of a given plane. In the horizontal plane, how is the radiation pattern? What is the field strength? So is it really omnidirectional in all directions or not? So we can do this very cost effectively with a drone. So we don't need such expensive devices to do it. So you can very nicely manipulate, and then you can also use the cameras and all other sensors to get this. And there are various other things happening in country like New Zealand, because New Zealand is agriculture-based, dairy-based country. So I didn't have time, otherwise I would have prepared my presentation completely on those various things we do in robotics to support them, like what we call the smart farming, and then spraying for the dairy control, the guiding the cattle and various things. So there are so many things that we do with the kind of not directly robotics, but sort of automating those things. And this is another thing we do. I hope I could run that one. So this is a competition we run among our members. It's called the AVU Robocon, and so the members participate in this one. And then Japan, they have a secretariat. They are the key sponsor for the event, and they manage that, and we assist them. And it is hosted in a given country. So there is a competition, and at the end we select a winner.
So it's semi-autonomous?
Yeah, I think it's semi-autonomous, yes. So we made at Massey we have a group a lot work on robot soccer. It's fairly autonomous, so they play the soccer game by themselves. And this is something actually very timely. So in our General Assembly, in the opening ceremony, so they did this. You could see, I was right at the back of the audience. It was a huge audience. So my Zoom power wasn't enough, so I recorded the screen. It does those moments fairly smoothly. Yeah. For you, it may be, I'm not sure whether it's a very simple thing, but I thought for that event it was a fascinating thing because it's synchronized with what we promote, not just the broadcasting, the robotics, the integration with information and so on. Yeah, so when I get back, I will ask actually who organized that, whether it's Korea, Japan, or Turkey itself, because it was held in Turkey. But our key technology players are Japan and Korea.
This European robot.
This is a European robot? Yeah, so it
No.
should be, it could be from Turkey itself, yeah. Because they were the host. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the last one I put before I go a lot onto some of the things we do in broadcasting is the telemedicine. So Dr. Trishanta took me to the labs, and then I saw that kind of area they do research on telemedicine, or rather like robot assisted surgery. And where we put input into that is what's called this high resolution, with less artifacts. You can capture images which assist. Let's say a surgeon in a developed country, highly developed country, could do a surgery in another sort of a developed country where there is no expertise. So all the controls will be at the other end, and then the robots will do that. But it's not fully autonomous robot it does, but all the controls from the other end communicated through the reliable communication line, supported with like 4K or 8K camera, so that you can see a better picture of what's being done. So these are some of the areas where you find the kind of information technology or the imaging would help the robotics or those areas. But coming to the more, I'm comfortable with like try to give you some idea of what you're going to get. Is that, have you heard of iPlayer? What is iPlayer? Oh, I don't know. It's BBC puts things on iPlayer stuff.
Yeah.
What is iPlayer? Any idea?
I think something like a streaming server.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a kind of what's called the on-demand service from the BBC, right? So it's a kind of if you classify this into a more generic form, it's called media delivery over the broadband. And the difference between kind of IPTV and this is that IPTV is what's called a quality assured delivery, whereas iPlayer, the BBC cannot secure what's the broadband connection between you and the server. So it's all depend on the public internet. So it's quality, it's what we call unmanaged, through unmanaged network. So we may get the content, but if you are directly viewing from the server, the quality would depend on the broadband connection. If it's so poor, then you will find it's running like that. Right? So these are the ways to deliver from the what we call the ground station terrestrially
or using the satellite cable or the IP, right? And so these are the various forms of those deliveries. And then in recent times, like because we just use the mobile phone. We are not worried about like what technology it uses, but this uses what we call the MIMO technologies. That's multiple input, multiple output. So that means the 4G and those technologies will use number of transmitters, and your mobile phone has number of receivers to receive them. So therefore we call it MIMO. So that the reception is robust and you can support a very high bit rate. So that's what we are using because now in UK you are making a transition from DVB-T to T2, right? When you go to T2, it's called the MISO. It's a first level of MIMO. Transmit with number of transmitters, but you receive it one antenna, because we can't ask people to install 2 antennas. But the next stage would be like you need to have 2 antennas, one may be vertically polarized, the other one be horizontally polarized, but it's a bit cumbersome. So we are still doing research on what's called third generation technologies. We are not very sure what we can come up with, because we have come actually very close to what's called the theoretical limits of communication given by the Shannon. Shannon is the one who said the maximum capacity given in a Gaussian network or in a noisy network. So we have come closer to that limit. So we cannot yet define the third level, because we are not gaining enough to do that, so that people will not throw away your boxes and the devices and go for a new one. So we are still over there. So when the Olympics was on, we used the IP, but it was not a broadcast, but it's a public screening. It was done in 3 places in London, 1, 2, 3, 4 places, right? In Glasgow, in Scotland, Bradford, London, and IBC. That's the main production area in International Broadcast Center, and that signal was sent to US and to Japan for screening to public. So the public need to gather there and watch that, and that was done in 4K, and then did that through the IP, right? But it is not yet on for other ones. So this is the kind of a general block diagram of how do we do the media delivery traditionally. So we do capture, and then you process them, because we have lots of data, we can't send all of them. So we need to compact them, and then we need to send them through a channel. So the various media or the channel that you could send could be over there. So either from the satellite or from the ground station or inside the cable. Traditionally it was copper cable, nowadays it's an optical cable. Or now slowly evolving is the virtual pipe, which is the IP. And then the display and the viewing process. So we used to watch television in that quadrant. So we call it linear, because if you're watching BBC, the producer will tell what program at what time you watch. That time you cannot watch earlier. Even you cannot watch what was yesterday, right? So this is something bad. So this is changing now, right? So from linear to non-linear. So you go for on demand. So this is happening, and also not stationary while you are mobile with your various other devices. So this is the most active region. In this area, nothing is happening very much. So that's why I put red there. But this is the most operational area. This is okay, and so this should be okay. So this is the next big thing for the media, so that true broadcasting can be done. So this is a big challenge for broadcasters like BBC and all other broadcasters all over the world. The challenge coming from the telco and mobile operators. They say we can do that, but theoretically, sort of they can do it, but practically they can't do it. So we are challenging them. Systems like what's called the multimedia broadcasting systems, they are not economically capable, they are not practically capable. That means, if something goes wrong, there will be so many calls coming up, the system collapses, right? Because the system cannot handle. because all those system architectures are based on for a given number. But when it's broadcasting, there is no overloading happens. So that's the best way to deliver, and it's called most efficient and most reliable way to deliver the information, and could complement with other methods, but the base method should be the broadcasting. So this will be the challenge next, starting today. Yeah, today Monday. Starting today in Geneva, we have a month of conference where 193 countries in the ITU talk about like how the frequencies should be divided for various communication for future. So until 2019, this is going to be the case, and then people will say this is how we should give. So the telcos and the mobile operators are asking lots of frequencies which are freed up from going analog to digital, because when digital we had so many channels. Once we went digital, we could compress all of them and then pack them into a small area. So all these frequencies are free. Now they're asking those for them. But we are telling them, no, we don't need them for 4K, 8K transmission. That's their responsibility of the frequency spectrum regulator. So we try to deal with all of these. So it's not only the television, but also the radio. So that's why I'm here now. We have tomorrow and day after that general conference of the World DAB, which is one of the standards for digital radio, because the other standard is DRM on AM, which is not yet gone very much because no receivers available. And in US, there's what's called the HD radio. But the most dominant form is the DAB+, which is especially in the European region and in Australia. And then the people say this because one of the challenges that we address from our side is that people say linear television is dead. So that means people will not watch television from the broadcasting. But it has been disproved by the proper. This part is completely based on scientific research, and that's a prediction part of it. So it may drop a little bit, but still it is the base. So that's how the people watch television. And even in the most wired country, US, in a recent study done by Nielsen, they are the ones who does most of the audience research, said people want to watch television on television. So that means they don't watch on TV, because I dispute always when people say we watch television. I said no, I can't touch my mobile when I'm driving in New Zealand, and we don't watch rugby on this one. We need big screens, so it won't happen. So it may work in certain countries for a smaller group. You cannot generalize that into a larger group. And what they watch is what's called the short form video. Oh, I also watch a small clip on how All Blacks won the World Cup and things like that, but I cannot watch the whole game on my mobile device. So it's called a short form video, which is 1 minute or 2 minutes long. But when it's long form, it's always on the television you watch on your couch. So this is a publication that was done recently by ITU, and I contributed 2 chapters to that one, technology and the standard chapters, and we also came up with a kind of model. So this is where we used to operate the traditional digital TV. This is where the telcos used to operate, like BT. Now the new players like Netflix from US coming up, right? Anyone do subscribe to Netflix? No? You? Why do you subscribe? I mean, be frank. Is it because of the affordability, or you have also content? Why do you subscribe for Netflix? I mean, if you can share that information. You're not obliged to give me answer, but
yeah.
What is the reason?
Because I like to watch movies.
Right, and they are more affordable, or because if it is you like to watch movies, there are so many options. Then why Netflix?
It's on affordable price, like £6. So
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's how they actually capture the market. Because they had the kind of deep pockets to do that. So this is how the various things operate, and that's where what's called as Netflix operates, right? Because Netflix will give you content, you don't know where they are, and if your broadband is poor, you see a very poor picture. But it is not the case if it is BBC. Dustless transmission, they will make sure that 99% of the people in this land could access that information and it's acceptable quality, right? But Netflix has no obligation like that. So the media industry is changing pretty fast, and this is the next, what's called the next generation television. So this has implemented, and I think UK will go for this very soon. Not the iPlayer, but they will go for this freeview, because the freeview concept came from UK, and then we adopted. Australia, New Zealand, we adopted, and we did better than UK. Right? And we have gone for the next wave even before UK, and it has proven the success. So this is the what's called the hybrid broadcasting, where we marry the broadband and the broadcasting. So the base is broadcasting. On top of that, we give the broadband access or the content access through the broadband. So we don't control the broadband, but we control the content. You get this additional content through the broadband. So that way, you can watch 7 days back the program, and then your normal EPD is there, like in the past, to see what's going to be in the future. So the same is now available for in the past, minus time, and then you have access to those contents. And then you can geocode them so that you manage your copyright issues. So only people here in UK could access, outsiders cannot. So there are always technology to do all these fancy things. Right? So I'm not going to go through all of those. So now you can look at once again that perceptual diagram where